Hello, my name is Bukola Ayedo Daniels. I'm here today to present the understanding of mental health and coping strategy. That is the Unit 7 of this course, the Higher Education Diploma in Nursing. Before we start, we'll talk about this presentation demonstrates the understanding of mental health and coping strategy, as I said earlier, an explanation of major sources of and effect of psychological stress, and also an explanation of a variety of coping strategy using a reduced stress and assessment of effectiveness of this strategy. The table of contents here is we'll talk about the introduction, the psychological stress and coping strategy, the effect of the psychological stress and coping strategies and evaluation, then the conclusion. We have just 10 minutes for this presentation. I'll start with the introduction. Psychologically, stress occurs when individuals perceive that the demands placed upon them exceeds their ability to cope. The effectiveness of each strategy depends on the individual, the cause of stress, and how consistent the strategy is used. The effective stress management requires selecting coping strategies that match the situation, the merging applied problem solving, the emotional directive, health routine behavior, social support when needed, provides the greatest protection against the demanding effect of trauma on mental health. The holistic approach promotes resilience, improves quality of life, supports long-term psychological well-being. This complete method promotes flexibility, progress quality of life, and supports long-term mental well-being. Mental stress stems from individual, communal, work-related, and inner source, triggering extensive physical, mental, and social harm. The adaptive coping tactics are suggestive, more operative for last stress lesson than adaptive strategies. The psychological stress and coping strategy that we earlier talked about, this presentation breaks down the origins and impact of psychological stress, then evaluate common coping strategies to support evidence-based mental health management. Major sources of psychological stress include work-related stress, family stress, relationship problem, financial difficulty, health-related issues, major life stages. Other psychological stress arise from stressor events or demands that exceed an individual's perceived ability to cope, or fall into 4 categories. These 4 categories will be revealed in the next flash. The first one is environmental stressor. Include acute events like natural disaster, ongoing conditions like neighborhood noise or pollution, and major life transitions such as moving, job loss, divorce, or death of a loved one. The second one is social stressor. Stem from interpersonal stress, pressure, include workplace conflict, toxic family dynamics, social isolation, discrimination, and caregiving responsibility for ill or dependent loved one. The third one is occupational or academic stressor related to role specific demand, heavy workload, tight deadline, performing pressure, job insecurity, bully at school or workplace. Internal assess then the last one is the internal assessor. Originate from within the individual, includes perfectionism, negative thought patterns, unrealistic expectation, rumination or past mistake, or chronic worry about future events. Next, we talk about the effect of psychological stress. If stress remain unmanaged, it may increase to the risk of generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, burnout, and substance misuse like drugs, reduce quality of life, as well as increased risk of self-harm or suicide thought. Unmanaged chronic stress disrupt physical, psychological, and behavioral functioning across all the domains of life. Physically, lengthy promptings of body hypodynamic um, pituitary adrenaline islands leads to constant high cortisol level, which obstructs the danger of high blood pressure, cardiac heart disease, type 2 diabetics, suppressed resistance function, sleep disorder, and long time pain. Sensitively, lingering long lasting trauma contributes to signs of anxiety, obstinate touchiness, troubles instincts, ruminance damages, abridged confidence, and high risk of medical depression and other mood syndrome. Stress leads to maladaptive coping conduct such as overindulging components used like hard drugs, societal extraction, abridged theoretical routine, performing a response loops that deteriorate stress with time. The next, we'll be talking about coping strategies and evaluation. The coping strategies are broadly divided in adaptive, effective, long-term categories, each with distinct outcome. Coping stress are the thoughts and behavior of individuals used to manage stress and maintain their mental well-being. The best outcome are usually achieved by combining several strategies. For example, someone experiencing workplace stress may benefit from regular exercise, better time management, mindfulness, and talking to a trusted friend or counselor. Tailoring coping strategy to the individual circumstances and reviewing them regularly can improve their effectiveness over time. Also, we talk about the problem focused coping target, the root cause of stress directly. Example includes time management training, breaking large tasks include small actionable steps, negotiating workload changes, and resolving interpersonal conflict. This strategy is highly effective for controllable stressor, with research show it reduce long time stress symptoms by 30 to 70% in occupational and academic setting. We will go to this. You can look at this coping diagram that deals with coping with stress, supporting seeking. When we talk about contact seeking, comfort seeking, these are when you talk about the support from counselor, self-reliance, emotional regulation, behavioral regulation, emotional expression. When you tell people about how the kind of stress you are going to escape, mental withdrawal, denial, you can withdraw from that particular stress for a while. Then information seeking, which we talk about reading of assumptions, asking other questions, the problem solving that we talked about earlier. We talk about strategy and planning on how to manage the stress. Then we go to the second one, emotional focus, which we also show in the diagram. Coping regulates the emotional response to uncontrollable stressor. Mental analysis consistent mindfulness practice reduce anxiety and depression symptoms by 25 to 35%. Also, we talk about the third one. We talk about the social support. The social support, we also show it in the diagram. Then the multiple perspective, which is also shown in the diagram I showed earlier. The last one, which is the cultural features, form coping references, communist belief, often prioritize household and communal support, which we also analyze in that paragraph. Because of our time, we will not be able to dwell much about this. Effective stress management is an anti-fate approach that involves identifying someone's specific requirements, exploring various strategies, implementing them into day-to-day life, and if necessary, seeking professional help. Also, the problem focused coping, which was talked about earlier, deals with more emotion focused coping, is more appropriate when the situation cannot be altered or sought after a bereavement. So bereavement, you can bring about this stress can come about bereavement. In conclusion, psychological stress is a major experience, but when it become chronic, it can significantly affect mental health, leading to anxiety, depression, burnout, and reduced well-being, which was stated earlier. A variety of coping policies can decrease mental stress together with workout. Then this is the references as highlighted above. Thank you.